Class 10 Science Chapter 8 Heredity Questions. What is the effect of DNA copying which is not perfectly accurate on the reproduction process? So, DNA copying cannot be perfectly accurate always. This led to accumulation of variation which result in evolution. What is genetic drift? Gene migration or gene flow from a population to a new area is known as genetic drift. What are the basic events in evolution? Natural selection of variation and variation are the basic event in evolution. How do we know how old a fossil is? Age of fossil can be estimated by digging the layer of earth deeper the fossil. Older it is and nearer the surface would be more recent ones. Studying the amount of CH4 radioactive isotopes of carbon in the fossil since it has half-life. Therefore, by quantitative analysis, we can give approximate time period when the organism would have existed. Write the sex of the baby that inherit Y chromosome from the father. Such a baby will have XY, therefore will be a male. Organic evolution, process of accumulation of variation change in DNA, leading to formation of new species is organic evolution. Give an example where sex determination regulated by environmental factor. In snail and garden lizard, sex is determined by outside temperature. What is the phenotype ratio of dihybrid cross in F2 generation? So that is 9:3:3:1. Name the scientist who gave the theory of evolution. So theory of evolution was given by Charles Darwin. Define species. Group of individuals that have similar features are capable of interbreeding are said to belong to a species. Write to factor that could lead to rise a new species. Geotopical isolation, genetic drift, natural selection. Identify analogous and homologous organ amongst the following: wings of an insect. So forelimbs of lizard and forelimbs of bird both have same structure but different function. Give one example of an evolutionary change produced in an organism for one purpose which later on became more useful for different function. Birds develop feathers as they evolve to become warm-blooded animals to protect them from cold, but slowly these feathers also help them to evolve from artificial mode of life in search of food, shelter, etc. Which of the following fossil is invertebrate and which one is vertebrate? Vertebrate. Dinosaur is vertebrate. Ammonite, that is invertebrate. There are certain changes that are small though they are very sufficient. What is this process known as? Variation are these change process is evolution. Give the respective scientific term used for studying the mechanism by which variation are created and inherited. Evolution, the development of new type of organism from existing one. Specification. Mutation, sudden change in the genetic makeup of an organism which are capable of expressing and are inheritable are called mutation. Gene is functional segment of DNA on a chromosomes copying specific position which carries out a specific biologic function. Our teeth and animal trunks are homologous organ. Justify the statement where do the analog organ indicate. Our teeth and elephant trunks are homologous organ both, as both have same basic structure but different function. We use our teeth for chewing while elephant use their to hold things. Analogous organs indicate that even the organism's different structure can adapt to perform similar functions for their survival under given similar environmental conditions. Sometimes accidentally a dead body or its part get buried under depositing sediment and are preserved. These are fossils. How can the estimation of age of fossil be done? It can be done in many ways. The fossils found in upper layer are recent and the ones that are deeper are older. By radioactive carbon dating, Mendel took tea plant and short tea plant, produced F1 progeny through cross-fertilization. What did Mendel observe in F1 progeny? On crossing pure tall and pure short pea plant, the F1 generation was tall but not pure. It was heterozygous for tall. Define heredity, the process by which trait and characteristic are reliable, inherited, or passed from the parent to the offspring is called heredity. Define genetics, the branch of biology which deal with heredity and variation is known as genetics. How did Mendel explain that it is possible that a trait is inherited and but not expressed in the organism? Georg John Mendel, through consistent study on garden pea, arrived the law of inheritance. He used plants that were pure breed for a trait and considered contrasting character like tall and short size, round and wrinkled seed, white and violet flower, etc. In his experiment, he crossed plant with contrasting character, studied the progeny of first generation and second generation and calculated ratio of plant with contrasting that were original parental type of different. For example, he crossed a pea plant with a dwarf pea plant. He found in first generation all the plant produced were tall. Since F1 plant are all tall, the genotype literally are T and small t. They have inherited small t from one parent which is not expressed as a result in dwarf plant. Name the organism Mendel used for his experiment. Organism used by Mendel for his experiment was pea plant. Mendel took a pure tall plant and crossed with a pure dwarf plant. The progeny thus obtained was called F1 progeny. Then he self-pollinated the F1 progeny to obtain F2 generation. In F2 generation, he found that 75% were tall, but 25 were dwarf, that is, one homologous of pure tall, two heterologous of tall, and one homologous of pure short. Write the full form of DNA. Name the part of cell where it is located. Explain its role in the process of reproduction of the cell. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. It is generally located within the nucleus. It is in the basic structure that make up the chromosome. It carries complete information for that organism. DNA is capable for replicating, thus making its own copy for reproduction. It is mandatory that the cell must pass on the information to the next generation since DNA is capable of dividing, so it plays most important role in reproduction. How can we say that change in gene can be brought about by change in DNA? A gene is a specific portion of DNA occupy a specific location. It provides information for protein synthesis. It also provides stability to the species. In the following cross, write the characteristics of progeny: big R, small r, capital Y, small y into same. So we'll get round yellow in ratio 9 and round green 3, wrinkled yellow 3 and wrinkled green 1, all wrinkled and all green, all round and all yellow. Natural selection. Natural select the best trait in the species leading to survival of fittest. Evolution of species. This phenomenon is known as natural selection. Reproduction isolation. It refers to the mechanism in which checks the organism of two different groups from interbreeding. Mention the factors which are responsible for inherited trait. State the two outcome of Mendel experiment. DNA that consists all the information is the main factor responsible for inherited trait. Outcome of Mendel experiment. Both parents contribute equal to a progeny. Trait may be either dominant or recessive. A dominant trait will be expressed in both heterozygous and homozygous condition, while recessive trait will expressed only in homozygous condition. In fruit fly, the sex chromosome in male are XY and in female are XX. Does a male fly inherit X chromosome from his mother or father? How many type of gamete can be a male fly produce? How many type of gamete can a male fly produce? So since female have XS, so male fly inherit X chromosome from his mother. A female fly produce only one type of gamete, that is X, and male fly produce two type of gamete, that is X and Y. Explain the method of sex determination in human. Human beings have 22 pair of autosomes and one pair of sex chromosomes. This pair is XX in female and XY in male. Thus, if parents are this cross shows that female produce are similar gamete carrying X chromosome while male produce two type of gamete, that is 50% with X and 50% with Y chromosome. Hence, when a female gamete fuse with sperm, the X chromosome of female child is produced, and when it fuses with sperm with Y chromosome, a male child is produced. Explain how new species are produced. So let us study the example of beetle. Let the original beetle population be read. If due to variation a green beetle was produced, it would have survival average over red beetle. Thus green beetle would be naturally selected and will grow in number. A few of these green beetle will move to some other area, adapt to change environment, and after few generations would vary genetically from the original population of red beetle. These two populations may not be able to interbreed due to accumulation of variation. Thus, due to natural selection and genetic drift, a new species of beetle is formed. Only father is responsible for the newborn child. You because give reason for your answer. Define specification mention factor due to which this can happen. Specification. It is the process of formation of new species from an existing one. Factor that can lead to specification. Speciation are natural selection, geographical isolation, migration, genetic drift. List and describe two evidence of evolution. How has the method of artificial selection by human being helped in the evolution of different vegetable? So human being have artificially selected certain variant that across in nature by change. This led to evolution of different species. For example, wild cabbage was cultivated and its variant were selected due to different average advantage. By artificial selection, short distance between leaves led to formation of modern day cabbage, arrested flower development broccoli, steel for cauliflower, swollen pads, kohlrabi, and large leaf kale. Why did human race spread from Africa to other parts of the world? The earliest evidence for human race were found in Africa. Some of our ancestors left Africa in search of food and shelter in other areas and stayed on. Slowly we migrated to most part of the world. They settled in different parts and adapted. There was mixing in these populations, so they evolved as different races. If we cut the trait of a mouse tail, Will tail occur in next generation of that mouse? Yes. Even after cutting the tail of mouse, its progeny continues to have tail. This is because no tail is an acquired trait. The mouse continues to have information for presence of tail in its DNA and hence the progeny will have tail. What will be the consequences when a small population of individual is separated due to large barrier in between them? When a small group of individual is moved away and there is a large barrier between them, this small group will accumulate variation. This may ultimately lead to formation of new species. Thus, this led to specification due to geographical isolation. Name two homologous structure in vertebrate. Why are they named so? So, homologous structure in vertebrate Homologous structure in vertebrate are wings in bird and forelimbs in lizard. They are so named as they have same structural design but different function. Give to use of fossil. What are acquired trait? Why are these traits genetically not inherited over generation? The trait that a person acquired during one's lifetime and not by virtue of his her gene are known as acquired traits. These traits are not present in our gene in reproductive cell, hence they cannot be inherited since these changes are in not reproductive cell and thus cannot be passed to one to the germ cell, hence are not inheritable by future generation. Define variation in relation to a species. Why is variation beneficial to species? Variation are relatively small changes that occur due to error during DNA copy in asexual reproduction or fusion of gamete in sexual reproduction. These changes are suitable maintaining the basic body design. Sometimes these variations may be such that they give an advantage during adverse conditions and hence help in survival. This is how variation help in continuation of species. Mention the information source of making protein in the cell. DNA is the basic source of making protein in the cell. The basic event in reproduction or fusion of gamete is asexual reproduction, is the creation of a DNA copy. Cell use chemical reaction to build copy of their DNA. This create two copies of DNA in reproducing cell and they will need to be separated. How can a change in color give survival advantage to a species? Change in color is an inherited trait, so it is transmitted to the next generation and can provide survival advantage to the species. For example, in population of the green and red beetle, green beetle protect themselves from cows that feed on them by hiding in green leaves, but the red beetle can be easily spotted. Thus, over a period of time only green beetle grow in number as their rate of survival be higher and red beetle will decrease in population. Explain with the help of example where the color change give no survival advantage to a species. For example, if there is a population of red and blue beetle in an area, an elephant who has to pass by, may step on this population. The survival is only chance and due not to selection. Hence, survival here is due to chance and no advantage due to change in body color. Give the evidence that the bird have evolved from reptiles. Fossils are important evolutionary evidence to show what kind of organism existed earlier. Archaeopteryx is a fossil dinosaur with wings. This proves that it has features of both reptile as well as wings. Hence, we can say that bird evolved from reptile. These organisms cannot be grouped together as the structure of eye in each is very different. This means that they have separate evolutionary origin. Define variation in a species. How does it increase the survival change of a species? Why does environmentalists get worried due to small population of species? Any division from organism trait in a species is variation. Sometimes these variation may give added advantage of being of the nature so as to give better adaptability in change condition. Hence, it increases the change of survival. Small population of species would enforce inbreeding with the population which would result in fewer variation. This would also result in inbreeding, depression, and expression of recessive trait, thereby make it prone to disease or extinction. Hence, environmentalists are worried about small population. Define the term evolution. Evolution can be equating with process. The process which we know how various life forms have come into being from the previously existing one is known as evolution. Evolution cannot be equated with process. This is because evolution is caused due to variation in original form. This may lead to formation of new species, but if it does not mean that original type may not exist, it only led to more complex body design. The simple life from I bacteria exists till day and are found in all type of habitat from hot water spring to cold water region. Bacteria are also one of the oldest life form known, so we can safely say that evolution cannot be equated with process. What is more appropriate to compare the process of evolution with branch of tree rather than with a ladder? While studying evolution of variation from life, it is observed that from a single point or ancestor there may be originated different lines, each leading to formation of new species. For example, both the human and chimpanzee have many common features which suggested that both would have a common ancestor. Also, it is not as if one species eliminated to give rise to a new one. Homologous organs explain this well. Forelimbs of frog, lizard, bird, horse have common design but different function. This clearly suggests that all these organisms belong to different groups originated from a common ancestor. They evolve in their own way to perform and adapt to their mode of life to give rise to current form. Hence, it is more appropriate to compare the process of evolution with branch of tree than a ladder. What is chromosomes? Explain how is sexually organ the number of chromosomes in the pregnancy maintained. Chromosomes are long DNA strands present in nucleus carrying gene for a trait. Hence, they are hereditary material. In an organism, each cell has two copies of chromosome 1, each from a male and female parent. In sexually reproduction organisms, where fusion of gametes take place, one chromosome from each pair is taken up in formation of germ cell by special cell division called meiosis. Where two germ cells fuse, they restore the original number of chromosomes in the progeny. Mendel crossed a pea plant having green pod with a constricted yellow pod. This is the dihybrid cross. What type of plant are obtained in F1? So all plants are inflated with yellow pod plant. In F2 generation, the phenotype ratio is 9:3:1. State the rule for the inheritance of trait observed by Mendel. In F2 generation, new compacts are produced as the traits are associated assortedly independently. The law given by Mendel is law of independent astronaut, which states that it is a dihybrid class where two different characters are being studied which may be presented together in individual. Define the gene of a particular protein. How may speciation take place? Gene is a particular segment of DNA on a chromosome that is capable of coding for polypeptide. Specification may take place by migration, mutation, genetic drift, natural selection.